Today, my guest is a winner of over 10 international competitions, professor of the Moscow State Tchaikovsky Conservatory, Hayk Kazazyan. Hayk, hello. Hello, friends. Today, we have a very interesting subject, different ways of sound production on the violin. Of course, to sound on the violin is a great art, especially to find your own individual sound. Not everyone manages to do that. Much depends on the quality of the instrument. In some of the instruments, you really need to use your strength at the full potential. In some, you just put a touch and it already sounds divine. If you demonstrate a smooth tangential movement, it will go something like this. It is enough, in my opinion, only to see it. Other instruments require... It is like you really want to pull the sound out of it. Let's see from the technological point of view. You've just turned the right hand and pressed the bow pretty hard. Therefore, the instrument sounded tighter and more strained. I also want to say about the different performing schools. For example, if we talk about the great David Oistrakh, he used the first method. He had a great Stradivarius, and he didn't have to do anything extra. In another case, we, of course, are overpressing the instrument. What kind of performing school, for example, Pinchas Zuckerman, Shlomo Mintz, that plays so. A dense rubbing sound, and with a little bow, the so-called more concentrated sound. Of course, the dense, oppressed sound gives you a bigger and louder sound. In the big concert hall, it's the sound that will fly. By the way, about Shlomo Mintz, I remember when he came to Moscow and played Beethoven's Violin Concerto. And I was at that concert too. He played with a viola bow. It weighs a lot more than the violin bow, but this trick gave him a fuller sound. It sounded good, sounded very good. This is a special trick not everyone is able to use. Here, you should be able to know your instrument. Tell me, how do you understand how to press with the right hand? How to distribute your strength correctly? You've got to understand the difference between overpressing and pressing, just in order to play with the full sound. For example, overpressing is like... In the big music hall, it will sound fine. It will sound, yes, there will be a lot of sound, but it won't be the most refined and timbre-rich sound. The second option. I mean, my tactic is to use the best possible, to play gently, but play with quite a tight bow. And, as I say, to put the weight of your hand on the string. Let's talk about it. What does it mean, putting the weight of the hand on the string? It's when your whole hand falls down on the string, but does not overpress. Hayk, should the strength and weight of the hand be at this point or at the elbow? How do you imagine it? Honestly, I hadn't even thought about it before. So, it turns out that if we distribute the weight of the right hand on the string, it is likely that we won't be able to produce a very long sound because we will just overpress and it will be some sort of overweighted sound. And what happens with the long notes then? With long notes, of course, it is more complicated. But if we achieve a good result in technique, it will be possible, with no problems, to cope with long notes as well. Okay, show me how you cope with long notes. For example, the beginning of the sonata for violin and clavier by J.S. Bach. Bravo! I didn't count how many seconds you have played that note, but it took almost half of today's video. Students often like to dig into such matters as where to apply the string, or is there a push on this or that, where and how to put a finger, and so on. The fact is that we are being watched by students, and those who love to play the violin, and many among them, are really thoughtful about things like that. What part of the bow, or the hand, how and where is the weight distribution? Therefore, let's try to give them some of the answers. The most important thing is your own feeling. There is a goal, to put your hand on the string and play with a full sound, but without overpressing. The rest is up to your hand to negotiate. Everything should be natural. We should not think that here is the point, and when you play, you begin to feel. And all of this is unnatural. That's why such people, let's call them theorists, they do not always achieve the desired effect, because they are thinking in a little bit the wrong direction. The result of our meeting today, the different ways of producing sound on a violin. First of all, all, do not overpress, do not overpush, because in the large music hall, the sound will be substandard and bad in quality. Yes, it might be strong, it might be dense, but it will be poor in quality. And think about what Hayk Kazazyan said. You should take all the best out of all the best violin schools. And in order not to miss anything very musical and very interesting, subscribe to the channel. It's Yuri Medianik. Good luck to you.